In this video, we will be reviewing the Matrix Mind AI Expert Advisor by Mr. Paul Quintal Carlos Alejandro. Stick around to the end to see if this is a real expert advisor or just another MQL5 scam. This video is sponsored by Prosperity Algo and our free Golden Time Bomb Expert Advisor. Do you want to make 100+% annual returns through automating the London breakout and the opening range breakout? Then click the link in the description. So this bot caught my eye because the developer seems to have a pretty good understanding of some commonly used mathematical models in quantitative finance. Specifically, he's discussing quite a few linear algebra concepts, which are very often used actually in more institutional quantitative finance. Specifically principal component analysis would effectively be used to analyze a lot of data and see which variables of a data set are really driving the most signal. And it's a very commonly used form of mathematical analysis in quantitative finance and developing true quant strategies. And singular value decomposition is also a way of analyzing matrices and essentially performing calculations to them. So these are interesting concepts because it's not something you see too often on MQL5, and it is something you do see in a lot of the introductory quantitative finance or courses or concepts which are used in many institutional contexts. So if we try to actually figure out how this bot works though, he's saying that it's built on matrix factorization models, which would be those different concepts mentioned previously, to analyze market data, uncover hidden patterns, and this offers unique opportunities for strategy development. However, what I'm unfortunately not seeing here is I don't really know what the actual signals or the trigger to enter a trade would be. So to give you an example, principal component analysis could be used to analyze a bunch of different data sets generated from technical indicators, figure out which ones give you the strongest predictive edge, and then use those variables to actually decide to enter a trade or not. But you still need to have an actual trigger, what makes you enter the trade. These will give you an idea, these concepts will give you an idea how to analyze data, but they won't actually tell you, hey, enter a trade now. So unfortunately, this sales page is lacking in some of that information. He also discusses signal quality and noise reduction, all of which are pretty common concepts in quantitative finance, but it doesn't unfortunately tell us actually what the trigger is. We can flip through these sales pages here. It's specifying that it's prop firm compatible. It does not use martingale or grid techniques. Okay, AI not okay, so unlike text analysis platforms, interesting. So he says that the AI behind it is very adaptive to real market conditions. That's always a good thing. And here we're getting an idea of how the actual trigger would look in a visual backtest, or at least how the trading looks in a visual backtest. And now we can flip over to the sales page or to the signal page here, and we can see that to date the actual returns have been exceptionally good. And he actually did deposit a reasonable amount of cash here. So the initial deposit was $700 USD, and now he's at a few thousand. So that is a good sign because it means the developer might have a bit more confidence in their signal if they actually put at least a few $100 to a couple thousands to trade with. And we're seeing here that it is trading at a reasonable frequency, but as this bot is super new, it has not been trading for too long. One thing to keep in mind is this is not really a statistically significant amount of trades, so we're really unable to see to date if this system works. However, the frequency is good, so if we were to come back in a month or two, we might have far more data. So takeaways from at least the web page, really he's talking about a lot of concepts which are used in quantitative finance. So I do think this developer has some sort of background in quant finance. He does actually, he knows a thing or two about the industry. However, we don't really know how this bot is actually deciding to trade yet. If we hop over here into MT5, I've taken the liberty of downloading the bot and running a quick backtest. And as we can see here, the equity curve is absolutely magnificent. It's turning $10,000 into $102,000. And that looks a little bit unrealistic or fishy to me. We're seeing approximately a 90% win rate with a very positive risk reward. This is over 3x. So that is, or roughly 3x, that is not super great either. So yeah, that's probably slightly manipulated. That's at least my thinking here. Because you just don't see equity curves that look this good, which are not in some way manipulated, because the edge over randomness is just too high, and it's extremely difficult to get something like that. If we look at the actual trades which were taken on the chart, we can see here that they appear to be mean reverting in nature, so like fighting the trend, and that's also quite interesting. So perhaps there is some sort of indicator signal being used here, especially as they're all like overbought, oversold trades. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of Bollinger Band or RSI or stochastic or basic indicator being used to cover, because here we can see even when they're trend following, it's still kind of like a pushback and then going forward, versus here, oh, but this is not particularly mean reverting. It could be it's using a lower time frame, as this is the M30, maybe on the 5 minute or so. It's taking more of a mean reversion trade, but I will have to run a visual back test to see in more detail. Let's quickly go through the inputs tab here. It's discussing the use of trailing stop loss and stop losses and take profits. That's a good sign because it might actually indicate that there's a real strategy going on. At the same time as well, we're seeing that it's using a news filter. And maybe to note on the AI aspect, in order to use AI, a bot needs to either have an AI file, it needs to have a hard-coded AI model within it, or it needs to be making API calls. If we don't have any indication of any of those techniques being used, I typically tend to be pretty skeptical about the actual AI usage here. And I'm not seeing any indication that they're actually using it in their strategy. So that's not typically a great sign. Let's run ourselves a visual back test here. We can see a beautiful panel up there, and it's, at least graphically, it looks very impressive so far. Let's see if it starts to actually trade. Let me pause the video briefly to see if it actually trades so that we can be time efficient. Okay, so we are now back and it is indeed trading. We can see here that it actually first entered a short and then price went significantly against it. It did not actually close the position until it reversed all the way back and it closed it with a tight trailing stop loss. So this is it is a reasonable method of trade management, using a larger stop loss and a tight trailing stop loss to take profits. I use a very similar type of trading system and I find it to be exceptionally effective. However, the fact that he's taking kind of like mean reverting trades against the trend and he's almost perfectly timing it, it does appear a little bit fishy to me. Like, you wouldn't be able to see this type of impeccable equity curve with such good metrics if you were following just this type of strategy. If you're constantly like fighting the trend and at the same time you're seeing astronomically excellent returns, there has to be some degree of over-optimization or manipulation going on, just because having a 10x return on your capital with such low drawdowns is simply unrealistic. However, that doesn't mean there's no strategy here. The author does appear to have, or the developer does appear to have, a solid fundamental understanding of finance at the same time, or at least linear algebra, and at the same time there are quite a few elements to this system which look good. There's a larger stop loss, there's a tight trailing stop loss. It does appear to be running a combination of maybe a couple different strategies, and there is a live signal. So in conclusion, there's maybe something here, but I would be very skeptical, and ultimately we should wait to see how much longer the live signal goes for before making any purchasing decisions. Awesome. Hope you guys have a great day and take care.